One of the things that's most important for me as a novelist is to put women back into the history books. We have for too long kind of told a very partial history, which is often just the history of men, and it's often the history of just the king and the court and the generals and the religious leaders, forgetting that we were there too. And particularly in my period of history at the moment, the 16th century, men had been away at war for almost a whole generation. So who do we think were opening the shops? Who do we think were baking the bread and chopping the wood and writing the books and going to market? Well, of course we were. So for me, it's the idea of telling all the story of history, not just a partial story of history. And that, of course, is fundamental. And why wouldn't I? Because, you know, I'm a woman and I wanted to know who I would have been then. What would my life have been like then? There are so many ways of writing historical fiction. The way that I've always written historical fiction is to do all the research that I possibly can and then create imagined characters, but that are characters who might have lived, if you like, and put them in front of the real historical framework. But there is one real historical woman from history, Melisande, the Queen of Jerusalem, who ruled over Jerusalem as a queen in her own right in the 12th century. And she was the most extraordinary woman, and I don't know why we don't know more about her. And I've been fascinated by Melisande for many, many years. Almost the only thing we know about her is that her Psalter, her beautiful little prayer book, is in the British Library. It was given to her by her husband, essentially to apologise for going to war against her. So I have long wanted to write the story of Melisande. And part of the element of writing, of course, is to be a detective, to be an investigator, and to find out how women would have lived in a completely different period of time. Because although obviously society were different, societal rules and regulations were different, women's lives were different in terms of what they could do and what they couldn't do and how they lived. At the same time, I honestly believe that if your child goes missing today and your child went missing in 1572, you would feel exactly the same, because the truth is that the human heart, a woman's instinct, doesn't change very much. And historical fiction, if it's anything, is about standing in other people's shoes and realising that they and we feel the same.